It will say,
hello, I'm live, I hope. How are you all? It's nice to see, actually I say it's nice to see everyone. Normally I've got my participants list and we have our little team maths that get together at 12 o'clock each day. So say hi to me, tell me who you are, tell me if you normally come to our sessions or if you are just happening upon this and you want to do some maths for a little bit. So let me know in the chat who we've got joining in today. And you might be watching this on the recording as well. So let me just start off by saying who it's for and how long it's going to last and those sorts of things. Number one, it is for A-level math students who are just finishing their first year. Zan, hi, just finishing their first year and about to go into their second year in September. So your exams, your A-level maths exam is in literally 12 months, almost to the day, because this is the first week of June. So this was meant to be the first week of the A-level exam. So yours are literally in 12 months. Hello, Ria. So yeah, that's who it's for. And for current second years who are going to take maybe the exam in the autumn, if your calculated grades don't come out exactly how you like, I've got some students coming along each day just to keep everything ticking over as well. So the idea of going on YouTube today instead of keeping it inside the course is just to try to get some more people in our little club. We started the A-level content, the A-level maths, and we are going through it. And this is one of the first secrets that I want to share with you, YouTube community, is that you can take control of the content in the A-level, and using the Tailored Tutors course or even using other resources, if you're really careful with it, you can finish this before September. You can take control of the content. You don't have to wait for your teachers to sort out online learning and make a plan for you and see what happens in September and all of that stuff. You don't have to hand over control of your A-level, of your 2021 exam to the unknown. You can take control of it. If you sign up to the Tailored Tutors free trial for maths, you will see that it's really condensed into just 60 lessons, 60, and the whole lot you could back to back, if you didn't sleep, watch the whole lot in less than 24 hours. So that A-level is just sitting there, that content is sitting there, and it is there for you to access and start to work through at your own pace, and hopefully with me helping you as well. And you can come along to our 12 o'clock lessons and get some more support on that. So that's secret number one, is there isn't that much content. You can access it yourself. It is quick for you to get through it. Secret number two for second years. This is for all exam boards. Actually, for maths, a government body wrote the specification for A-level maths. So if you get the AQA and the EdXL and the OCR and the MEI and line them all up, they are word for word identical, like literally word for word, because that was the rule that was set about the A-level maths, is that you weren't allowed to deviate from the mark scheme. So unlike I think every other subject, maths is special, maths is different, and we've all got our same things. The only difference between the exam boards is in the style of the examining. So for example, if you're doing EdXL, then your first A-level exam is just pure, and then your second one is just pure, and then your third one is stats and mechanics. Whereas if you're AQA, then your first one is pure, but your second one is pure and mechanics, and your third one is pure and stats. And if you're OCR, then it's the other way around. You do the pure and the stats further. Anyway, basically, just the days of the structure of the exams is slightly different for each exam board. But other than that, content-wise, it's all the same. Yes, Nick is saying, should I still study? My A-level results are coming in August. I think, Nick, what this comes down to is how confident you are of the grade that you're going to get given by your centre, which is obviously very much an unknown, so it's a difficult one to answer, combined with whether or not, if you don't get that grade, you will want to resit in the autumn, resit next summer, or resit never, and just take the grade. So if, and this is like several ifs down the line of ifs, if you get your result in August, and not wanting that result means that you will want to resit in the autumn, in October or November, then I would say definitely you should be doing just a little bit all the time to keep it ticking over, because you may only have 6 or 8 weeks between finding out your result and finding out that you have suddenly got the resit exam, if you want to take it in the autumn. Not long enough. So I would either say wait and see what happens, so long as you're happy to wait then another year to take it next year if you do want to resit. Does that make sense? It's kind of complicated, isn't it? But really, yes, really who I want to talk to you today is the current year 12s, because your exams are in 12 months and I want to start working with you towards those exams that are in 12 months. So secret number 1, it's not going to take you that long to learn it all, and you don't have to wait for your teachers. You can take that responsibility yourself and take control of your learning, which is going to be really, really good. Second thing is that the most important thing in the whole A-level, which you won't realise, I'm hoping there's some second years to back me up here, the most important thing is the chain rule. And this is a thing that you use to differentiate, and you've done differentiation in the first year, but there's differentiation of much more complicated functions. And the chain rule is one of 3 rules that you'll learn in the second year, but the other 2, kind of, they're less important. The chain rule, it's like it's got these little tentacles, and those tentacles go through so much of the pure course. If you understand the chain rule, it means you understand composite functions, functions inside functions. This helps you to understand when you've got questions about functions, which is quite a big section of the A-level. You learn about what happens when we put a function inside a function, what's different, what can we construct from that, what equations can we solve. And a function inside a function is exactly what the chain rule tells you how to differentiate. The chain rule is obviously used in differentiation. It's used in the other 2 rules that you use. So you learn 3 rules, but the other 2 not as important. And within those 2, you use the chain rule. But here's the most important thing. It goes, one of its little tentacles goes inside integration, and integration in the second year. Are there any second years here? What is your feeling about A-level maths integration? It's big, it's difficult, it's difficult because it's not algorithmic. It's not one of those things where you learn step 1, do this, step 2, do this, step 3, do this. But if your chain rule is strong, if you can differentiate using the chain rule really, really confidently, then you will find that you are able to cope with integration way better. And vice versa. Often students who say to me, I'm fine on differentiation, it's integration I can't do. Then pulling back and actually going all the way back to the chain rule and sorting that out. That's how we get the integration working. Okay, could it be possible to do all of the A-level maths by September? If you mean the second year stuff, then yes, absolutely. That is exactly what we're doing in the Tailored Tutors live classes. We've got a little group together and we are here today recruiting for our group. So if you go to the Tailored Tutors website and you sign up for the free trial, then all of this week you can join in with the classes and you can be part of our group. What we're doing is only about 10 minutes a day of watching videos, and because it's so condensed and because you have that daily input from me guiding it and supporting you, we are going to finish the whole lot in 10 weeks. So we will be done. Our little group is going to be done before September. And that means that when you go back in September, if you go back in September, however you go back in September, when you're learning that stuff, it's going to be consolidating it. You'll think, oh yeah, I've got my Tailored Tutors notes on that. And you'll be building on that structure that you already know. And you'll know that you can see the whole map of the A-level. It won't be an unknown. It won't be something that is a source of stress for you anymore. So I'd love, that's kind of my point today of coming on here, is to recruit more people into our group. I also am going to do a little bit of teaching, and then you're going to do a little bit of a quiz, and we're going to see how much progress we can make literally just in the next 10 minutes. Up for that? Ria, I've just seen that you said integration is awful. It is, yeah, it's hard, but that's why we're starting it right now with 12 months to go with the second years. Okay. S1, really good question. How much maths do you suggest we do per day? Schools aren't setting us any work. I've heard this a lot. Okay. And I think that it is going to be a really, really big issue in 11 months time, 10 months time, because there is a real disadvantage to students who are currently not at a school or a college who are not setting them work. Because there are other schools and colleges who have sort of really stepped up to the plate in terms of adapting what they do, and they're moving forward with the content and they're getting going on the A-level stuff. And those students are developing this big advantage over other students, which is just so unfair, which is why we've got our free trial lasting a whole week. You can come along for a whole week and see if it suits you, see how much you learn from it without having to commit any money or anything at all. And you can keep that conversation going with us about what your school is setting you, how you're feeling about your A-level, what you think would help you the most to make progress with it, and thinking ahead 12 months really, rather than thinking about like the next few weeks, thinking properly 12 months ahead and working backwards from there and getting you in a really, really strong position to take that exam. So, I'm going to defer the questions about the courses at the moment. I'm going to defer to the chat so that we can do a little bit of maths, if that's all right with everybody. You are going to need pen and paper, and I'm just going to give you a little sort of demo of the sorts of things that we do in the classes and the sorts of progress that we can make quite quickly in those short classes. So this is only going to be half an hour. Each of our lessons at 12 o'clock is only half an hour, really punchy, but we make quite a lot of progress. Okay, so are you ready? You are ready, I am ready, but my iPad is not ready because it is not sharing, is it? No. Okay, attempt 2. This is attempt 2. So grab a piece of paper and grab a pen. I'm going to teach you the core foundations of the whole of the A-level. It's really going to help you when you start the A-level. Oh. I'm trying to get the little pulled. What am I doing wrong? How did you do? I was doing that. Okay. Ready? Ready. Right. I'm going to tell you 3 new pieces of information for you to learn, and you're going to jot them down. You know, there is a function called sin x. Well, there's another one, which is the reciprocal of sin x, and it's got its own name, and I'm going to tell you that name. There is also cos x. The reciprocal of cos x has got its own name. And there is also tan x. Obviously, the reciprocal has got its own name. Now, the name of these things, it takes a while to get used to them, but once you've got properly used to them, it's just the same as working with sine and cos and tan. But they're really, really important that we get them into your brain now and we start working with them so that all 6 of them are going to be equally happy living in your brain. So to know which one is which, you look at the third letter. The third letter, S. And the third letter here is C. And the third letter here is T. Okay. Cosec x, cot x, and tan x. If you ever forget which one is which, just look at that third letter and you'll know what it's the reciprocal of. Okay, now you will do equations involving these things. You will do proofs involving these things. You know how you've learned sine squared is 1 minus cos squared and cos squared is 1 minus sine squared. You're going to learn a bunch more, like a bunch more. But for now, what I want to do is teach you how to differentiate them. So you currently only know how to differentiate one thing. No, 2. You know how to differentiate x to the n, and you know how to differentiate e to the x. Okay. I'm going to tell you 8 more. And then that's it. That's all of them. There aren't any more coming. That's the whole lot. And there aren't any more funny trig functions coming either. That's the whole lot. Okay. So you've got these 3 reciprocal trig functions. So now we've got 6. Sine x, cos x, tan x, cot x. See if you remember which one that is. Sec x. See if you remember which one that is. And cosec x. See if you remember which one that one is. So now we've got these 6. We've also got, as well as e to the x, it doesn't have to be e, it could be any number to the x, literally like 2 to the x, 3 to the x, 10 to the x, 2.7 to the x. So we should also be happy working with any number to the x for an exponential function, not just e like you do in the first year. And last but not least, because there's going to be 10 altogether, is ln x, which, as you know, is the inverse of e. Okay, you have to know the 10 derivatives. 10 derivatives. Now, these are going to take a little while to get into your brain. So grab a pen and jot these down, and then I'm going to give you a little quiz that you can do yourself. We won't share answers unless you want to, but I'm going to give you a little quiz to test it. But they're not going to drop straight into your brain. I can't just download this information, so keep it on a piece of paper next to you. Derivative of sine is cos. The derivative of tan is sec squared. Okay, so it's that one there, squared. The derivative of sec is sec x, so it's like it doesn't change, a bit like e to the x. The derivative of e to the x is e to the x, but it does change. It also is multiplied by tan x, which is that one there. So this one differentiated is that squared. And this one differentiated as well as itself is that one. And the same pattern works on the row below, except for all these are going to be negative. Anything that starts with a C is negative. So that one's going to be negative. That one's going to be negative. That one's going to be negative. Nothing else is negative. Only things that start with a C, which is obviously not a maths thing, right? That's just some weird little coincidence. So C, negative, C, negative, C, negative. Derivative of cos, minus sine. Derivative of cot. See if you can remember without looking what cot is. What's cot the reciprocal of? Derivative is minus cosec squared. See that pattern forming with that middle row and the right-hand row? And the derivative of cosec minus, same idea. First of all, we write down cosec as if it doesn't change, but it does. We multiply by that one just to the left. Cot. Okay. E to the x, you should know the derivative. Ln x. Do you know this derivative from the first year? Some teachers are including it and some aren't. I don't know. How many of you have done that in the first year? Derivative of ln x is 1 over x. Maybe you have, maybe you haven't. Depends on the way that your teachers are sort of bringing little bits in from the second year and sprinkling them in the first year. This one, we all know. Hooray. Okay. Oh, and the last one, a to the x. This one's a bit funny to remember, but it's kind of like e to the x, but then you have to multiply by the natural log of the number. Okay. Now, so going back to secret. Secret number 1 is you don't need to wait for all of this learning to take place. You can get through the content nice and quickly. You can take control of this Maths A level and do it yourself, particularly with me helping. I would love to do that with you, for you to join our little group. Secret number 2 is that the derivatives and the chain rule are the most important thing to get in first. Don't start the book, the second year book, with chapter 1, because you'll see that the chain rule is like chapter 8. And waiting ages to get to that, that's recipe for disaster. So that's why I'm telling you these derivatives right now. These are the 10 derivatives. Okay. Would you like a little quiz that you can do yourself? You don't have to do it in front of everybody. You can, let me just get back to where I can see the chat. There we go. So I'm going to put in the chat a quiz link for you, and it's going to work for the next 24 hours or so. And you can use this as many times as you like. It is a 2-minute quiz. 2 or 3? might be 3 minutes actually, 3 whole minutes. And it's going to just power you through these basic things that I've been talking about today. So it's going to power you through what is SecX, what is COTEX, what is COSECX, just bringing it back and bringing it back. And it's going to go through the derivatives, and then it's going to turn those derivatives on their heads and ask you, all right, then what's the integral of this? You know, the integration and differentiation are the opposite of each other, yeah? So it's going to be really, really good. And what I would like you to do is to use that quiz over the next 24 hours, 23 hours, less than that even, until 12 o'clock tomorrow. And then at 12 o'clock tomorrow, join our group, join our TT, Tailored Tutors Maths A-Level group for Year 12s who are starting Year 13 in September and taking those A-Levels in 2021, 12 months from today. And then join in with us and see how much progress you can make even in a week. And that's really going to show you how much progress. If you can do that in a week, you will think and you will know how much you can make in a few months. And then hopefully I can support you to turn your grade around and head you in that direction of doing really, really super well next summer, no matter what happens. No matter what happens. So even worst case scenario, let's say you hardly get any lessons in September, but they invite you in and you have to do a mock of all of your first year stuff and a bit of second year stuff that you're meant to teach yourself. And then that mock ends up contributing to some calculated grade because we're still in the same position next year and the grades are calculated again. Then it's okay, because we're going to be totally finished in the next 10 weeks and we're going to do past papers. We can do whatever you like. We can work at whatever pace you like, and we can take this control over your qualification and work together and make amazing progress. So that's why I'm here today. I am not going to talk at you for very much longer, because I always try to keep these sessions nice and short to give you time then to go off and do a little bit of work, working on whatever progress you're making in the course. So Rich is giving me don't screen share.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Am I not screen sharing now? Good. Yes. So has anybody got any questions? Is there any mathsy questions that I missed? Samir, what are these short math sessions? Have you already covered the beginning of year 13? Okay, so the math sessions are normally 12 till 12:30, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. You can get access to them if you join Tailored Tutors with a subscription, or just for this week, join with the free trial, which is on the website. And then when you join, you will see right at the top, there is a thing called live study support, and you can go in there and just click a button, and 12 o'clock every day we're live, or you can watch the recordings if you're not free at 12 o'clock because you've got a lesson or something. What we're doing in those classes at the moment is we're working we're working essentially with the year 12 students who are going into year 13, and we are making progress every single day, fast progress on the A-level content. But it doesn't matter if you weren't here last week. It's flexible enough for everybody to kind of join in. It's designed specifically for that, so that any day that you want to join in, you can join in. If you want to go slower and only do some of the content between now and September, it will work for you that way as well. So the sessions are designed to be short, to keep you on track, to give you an opportunity to ask questions about your progress and what you're doing and what you need to do and what the most important things are, to give you some time in the session to do some actual maths. So I always give you like a quiz, like I've given you here today, and you go off and you do that for a bit, and then we come back and we talk about it. But of course, everyone's at a different level with that quiz in terms of their progress. So it's really flexible. So join in tomorrow. I'd love you to come tomorrow at 12 o'clock, and you can see what the sessions are like, and you can see how much progress you make just in that one session. Patricia, the free trial, we haven't got any plans to take it down at the moment. So, you know, it'll still be there next week, the free trial. If you've got any questions as well, there's a live chat on the website, on the Tailored Tutors website every evening, 6 till 9, Monday to Friday. So you could use that to ask questions as well. If you're doing, quick plug for the lovely Rich and Rich, who are going to be doing a similar session to this tomorrow at 4 and Thursday at 4 for biology and chemistry. After the free trial, it depends on your package completely, because if you obviously want to do 3 subjects, we don't charge you 3 times as much. There's a reduction. So it does depend on like what package that you actually want. But I can tell you that it is totally worth it. And if you think it's not worth it, then, and you try it and you subscribe and within 7 days you think this is not worth it, which you won't, then you can have a refund, because we don't want to take money from students that we're not helping. So if it's not helping you, there is no way we are not going to give you that refund, but it will help you. It will. And I'd love to see more of you in the group. The group is really lovely and supportive, and we spend a little bit of time each day talking about what we want to do for the next day, whether or not we've managed to achieve our targets from the day before, helping each other out, sharing ideas about how we take notes, what order we're going through the spec, that kind of thing. So even though everybody in the group is working independently and kind of dipping in and out so that they're working at their own pace, it's still very much a supportive, cohesive group that help to motivate each other, because we're all doing the same thing. We're all working towards this goal. And I think that particularly at the moment, it can be quite isolating. You're working at home, and as you probably know from being maybe on YouTube chats and that kind of thing, some teachers are really pushing ahead, and some teachers are not doing nothing but setting nothing, literally nothing, and saying to students, we'll see you in September, we'll sort it in September. And I think that it's really important that we have a space. That's what we're trying to provide with the Tailored Tutors groups, is a space where you can come together and be part of a group that is moving forward and is making progress, and you are feeling like you're making those steps towards your exam in a year, and not just sort of waiting for somebody else to decide whether or not you can start learning. And learning maths from a textbook, oh my goodness. Even I don't really like learning maths from a textbook. Learning maths from a teacher is just infinitely more productive, because textbooks, there's no nuances to them. There's no emphasis on different aspects. There's no feedback on your work. One of the things we do in our little group on a 12 o'clock at lunchtime is, if you want to, you can post anonymous work to the questions that I've set, and I give you feedback on that, mark it for you every day, so that you are getting that proper feedback on, actually, I'm a senior examiner for Edexcel, so I know what our response in terms of examiners at Pearson, what our response to your style of work would be. So getting that feedback as well, I think, is super important, and something that you're probably not getting very much from your teachers at the moment. Yes, pure stats and mechanics. Yeah, actually, if you don't mind, I will very quickly just put up some work that the students have put up today. Some of the students from our little group have posted. We were talking yesterday about, it's not going to work again, is it, the share? I'm going to have to do it the other way again. Oh, no, didn't work. I'll do it the other way. So yesterday, Monday, we were talking in our little group about particles on a, wait, let me get this to work. Oh, I did it. It's like, has to be the gentlest little touch in the right hand corner to make it work. There we go. So yeah, we were talking about what happens when you get a particle on a surface like you've done in the first year, and then we tilt that surface up. So not a radical difference from anything you've done before, but somehow way more complicated. This is what you learn in the second year. What a big difference from a particle on a table to me lifting that table up slightly at the end, and now the particle is on a little slope. So we started literally yesterday having a look at how the force diagrams would change from the particle that we do in the first year on a table. Maybe we've got, well, we would have the weight going down towards the center of the earth. We've got a reaction, normal reaction, that's perpendicular to the surface. But you probably never thought about it like that. Probably just thought it goes up. But when we tilt the surface, that reaction is going to tilt because it's always going to be perpendicular. But the weight is not going to tilt. And this is one of the things that gets confusing. So the reaction is now at a funny angle. Look, the reaction is now perpendicular to the slope, same as it was before, but the slope is tilted, so the reaction is tilted. But the weight does not change. The weight is still like a plumb line, like a piece of string with a heavy weight at the bottom, going down towards the center of the earth. Maybe we've got a piece of string attached to this and we're pulling it. Well, that would still be the case, and that would still be pulling it up the slope. And maybe the slope is not smooth, it's rough, in which case there's some friction, and that is still the case. There would still be friction, and friction runs parallel to the slope. So far, so not very different, right? Everything just tilts up. It's just that the weight is still going straight down. But because of that, it means we can't do any of the things we did with Newton's second law. We can't do this and this are balanced and F equals ma in this direction, because this guy is all off kilter. So what we talked about yesterday is splitting this guy up into two separate bits. And you can see two of the solutions that I just picked from the ones that students put up yesterday to have a look at. Now you can see two different approaches here. One of them is where we leave that force on 2mg, it should be there because this had mass 2m kilograms. So 2mg, we leave that on and we break it up into two bits as well. So we break it up into how far it's going that way, which is 2mg cos 30 because of this. And we break it up into another bit, which is going down here. Okay. Now, the reason that I chose this one is because there's a little mistake, and it's one of the things that I love about the group and the way that we work together, is that because students put work up all anonymously, because of that, we get to investigate those really common mistakes and see what happens in reality when students sort of transfer the learning themselves into a diagram, what sorts of things go wrong. So I chose this one because it's got a classic mistake. Now, when you resolve this force, when you break this force up and you're breaking it into two, the thing to remember is that the two must enclose the original force. So the original force, this one here, which I'll now do in red so that you can see it, that force is broken up into how far it goes that way and how far it goes that way. And hopefully you can see that the two forces that I've broken it up into go around that third one. Whereas the mistake that this student made was that they broke up that red force into 2mg cos going that way and then 2mg sine going in the wrong direction. So these two don't enclose the original 2mg. So that's a really simple way that you can work out where your two resolved forces go when you're in the second year, is they have to go around the thing that you are resolving. Now, the other reason that I chose this particular example is, like I said at the beginning, they've left the 2mg force on. So as well as this force here, we gain two more. And really, we're not gaining forces. We're rewriting that weight force because it's being a pain in the neck going at a squiffy angle to all the others. So what this person has done is, instead of leaving that weight force on, when they've split it up into the two bits, they've actually rubbed it out. And look how much cleaner this diagram looks. The difference looks like this. So if I put on the weight split up into the two bits, the diagram looks a little bit messy. Whereas if at this stage I get rid of the one that I've now rewritten, the diagram looks all nice again. In fact, if you turn your head sideways slightly, it just looks like a first year question, doesn't it? That and that are the same. And this, you can use Newton's second law, the same as this direction. It's literally just first years, but with your head on one side. So this one here we have got the reaction force, correct. We have got the tension in the string, correct. We have got the friction parallel to the slope, correct. And then we've got this weight force split up into these two bits, one down, one in, and it's always the same. The one into the slope is cos. The one down the slope is sine. And once you've got that diagram, pretty much, not all of the second year mechanics, I won't go quite that far, but an awful lot of the second year mechanics is much, much simpler. Because if you can draw that diagram of the thing on the slope, then it's just exactly the same as the first year. Any direction in which there's no acceleration, you can say that is that, because it's not going anywhere, it's not accelerating. And if there is acceleration, then you can use Newton's second law. So there's really not that much to learn in the second year mechanics if you get the first year mechanics. And that's a big if, because a lot of people don't get the first year mechanics. So that was a very, very long answer to the question, are you going to do stats mechanics and pure? Yes, we're going to do the whole thing. And we're going to do it at a pace that suits you. But if you want to go at about half an hour a day, 5 days a week, not 7 days a week, then you will finish it before September. Okay, I've gone a little bit over time. I apologize. Has anyone got any other questions about the maths course or about tailored tutors in general or about anything that I just did mathematically with you?
Maybe a screen share of how to join live.
How do we join a live? That is a good question. Let me get the content guide up and show you. So if you join the free trial, you will get the content guide, which is what you need at the moment, because it's got all the sort of lessons and the basic learning of the content. The exam guide is what's got all the past papers in and loads of like past paper questions. So that's what, once we've finished the content, we can move on to the exam guide and do loads and loads of past papers. Okay, so this is what the content guide looks like. When you get in, you will see this. And not screen sharing, you sure?
Yes,
I am screen sharing. I'm not talking to myself, there is a person there. So when you get in, this is what you will see. And right at the top here is study support. And here, right at the top of study support, is our live study support sessions. Okay. So this will always have a link in for you, and it will have the recordings from the week. So at the moment, what we've got in is the recording from yesterday. And in a minute, or like in half an hour, I will put up the recording from today as well. So they build up over the week. So it'll be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And then on a Monday, it switches back again and we start a brand new week. You can join in any week. You can join in any time in the week. You can just use the recordings if 12 o'clock doesn't suit you, or you can come along for some or all of them. It's totally up to you. So that's how you join. Literally just press this button, 12 o'clock tomorrow, and you will be joined in. Down here, you will see the work that I was just talking about. So we always have a question paper for the week. And if you want, you can upload using these little plus signs, and then I mark them and put them back up so that you can see your marked work. And then sometimes I'll pick out a few like I did today and say I specifically want to look at these examples to show you something specific or a common mistake that you might have made. You also will get here the checklist for the whole A-level, 2 sides of A4, the whole of the A-level maths. You can tick them off as you go so that you can see your progress. We have an inspiration board, which you can have a look at, and we have a commitments board, which you can have a look at. So this board, it changes all the time, changes every week, and it's where people put their work that they've done for me to have a look at and to mark. So it's really, really simple. And the quizzes that we do in the lesson, I usually give a link in the lesson, and it's different for each person depending on how far they've got with that particular topic or how much progress they've made on a particular section. But usually I give those in the lessons, and then we have a timer on and we all do a quiz for 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, however long the quiz is. And then we come back and we talk about the learning from that quiz. So the quiz is, like, for example, you can see one here on indices, surds and fractions if you want to have a look. if you want to go back to basics, what you learned a year ago. Do you remember a year ago when you thought this was difficult, when you were just coming out of GCSE? So here's an example of a quiz that you can use. But I would recommend that if you're going to do a quiz today, that you do the one that I shared earlier, which I'll share again now, because that is what you really, that's your knowledge for the A-level. If you've got that knowledge in your head, then you have got the foundation stone exactly where you need it for the A-level. And that means that we can then build on that and build really strong pillars of differentiation, integration, trig that all come together to make an A star. You do not have to be a maths genius to get an A star. You just need to practice the right amount and in the right way, and you can get an A star for sure. Right, I shall leave you to it. Unless I missed any questions while I was chatting there. One question I missed. Which question did I miss?
Mina and Razine.
Mina, if I join tomorrow, will I not be able to see the previous recording is there, Mina? Yeah. Yes. And then just feel free to just join in, because I always make sure that whenever you're joining in, you can join in, if you see what I mean. So you won't feel like you're behind, but the recording from yesterday is there, so you can see that. And on the quiz, it says the derivative of cot is minus cosec x, is it not? Razine, you win. I was talking to Rich about, I did actually check the quiz, but I checked it in the last 10 minutes. I was like, click, 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 click to make sure it was all correct. I was talking to Rich about having, I've got to confirm this competition with him. So this is not an announcement of a competition, but I would like that on all the maths quizzes, if you find a mistake, you win something amazing. Because it doesn't matter how much we check and check and check and check and check and get other teachers to, and we still make mistakes, which is why one of the things that I do with math students all the time is focus on mistakes. We call them FFS in Tailored Tutors. Do you know, you probably do know what FFS stands for, and particularly towards exam time, we make a real focus about FFS. What FFSs are we making? Why did we make them? How can we stop making them? And that boosts your grade, but literally it boosts your grade by 1. It adds 1 on, just learning how to make fewer of those sorts of mistakes. You are totally right. The derivative of cot is a minus cosec squared x. I will go and correct that one. Thank you very much, Razine. And if we sort our competition out, I shall come and find you and give you your prize. Okay. TT badge, it's Sarah wants. Sorry, I would love to give you a TT badge. You could, when it was when I was little, we used to have like a badge maker, like you put the thing on and then you put a bit of plastic on and then you like squash it and you make badges. That was actually really good fun. I would enjoy doing that and post them out to you. Yeah, it is weird. Right, I'm going to let you go do your quiz. Go play. Last thing I'm going to say to you is here's the link. Go and remember what Razine said, the derivative of cosec cot, the derivative of cot x is minus cosec squared. End.